Welcome back to Feedback Loop, everybody. I'm Jeremy,
I'm Joey.
and we talk about music on this
Yeah.
podcast here. It's a thing that we've been doing. This is episode 20,
Whoop,
so
whoop.
party hard for that.
Yeah,
Uh,
man.
in addition to it being our 20th episode, this is our final episode in the Dark Pop Escapades, and we'll be starting a new mini-series, I suppose.
A new escapade.
But we'll talk about that at the end of the episode. We this past week listened to Blue Lips, Ladywood Phase 2, from the artist Tove Lo. She's a Swedish pop singer-songwriter. Pretty great, in my opinion, but
In
we'll
your
see.
opinion.
We'll see what Joey has to say about this. I was kind of nervous this whole week because I said previously that I wasn't really sure which Tove Lo album I wanted to do, and I kind of landed on this one because I feel like it has more of like a more to discuss, I suppose. But even as I was writing the notes, I was like, man, I don't know. But we'll see. We'll see how Joey feels. We'll see how I feel about this album because, as previously stated, I don't pay attention to a lot of lyrics a lot of the time. So some of the stuff I was learning as I was doing research, even though I've listened to this album like, I don't know, I'd say probably at least once every other week since it came out in 2017. Like, I've listened to this album a lot.
Holy shit.
It's pretty good. It's pretty good. I'm a fan of Tove Lo, but it's I don't know. This is one of those albums that's constantly in my rotation.
Now, this may be a better question for afterwards. Is there, like, a reason outside of the music that you listen to this? Like, did it hit you at, like, the perfect time in your life or something? Or is it just, like, you really just enjoy music that much?
Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit of both. I think it'll become maybe more apparent by the end. So if I don't answer that question, bring it back up at the end, and I'll explain it a bit more in detail.
I'm making a check mark so I can bring that back up and I don't forget, because I probably will forget, honestly. But
so will I. It's fine. But yeah, Tove Lo. I chose this album because again, this is kind of the end goal for our dark pop thing. I'm a big fan of Tove Lo. That much should be apparent by now, and I thought this was a fun way to end our mini series, our escapade into dark pop, because this is the ending of her Ladywood storyline, I guess you could call it. She did two albums, one called Ladywood, one called Blue Lips. They're both kind of one album together. But we don't got time for that. Maybe we should have done it in two episodes, but we ain't got time for that. It's fine. So we're just gonna get into it. The album art for this album.
What is the album art, Jeremy?
It's kind of graphic, but I think it's expected, at least from me. So on the cover of this album, it has a picture of a nice woman's ass laying down on a bed, and her ass is being squeezed by a hand. It is actually Tove Lo's hand.
Okay, I assumed it was her hand. Like,
yeah, you just see from like the butt to like not even to the knees, but it's from behind. It's got some red lighting. It kind of looks like it's like a blacklit or like an inverted color thing, but it's red instead of like the blues and blacks.
Like it hasn't been developed yet. Like it's a picture that's still in a photo room, whatever.
Yeah, and the reason I know it's Tove Lo's hand is because there's a very prominent tattoo on the back of her hand, which is a lynx, and she's a big fan of that creature. And she's even made her own Care Bear character, kind of a thing, that is a lynx with what is also on this album cover in the top right corner. There's like a graphic drawing of a vagina, but it's like a stylistic thing. It's not like super like detailed or anything. But,
I never even noticed that. I should pay more attention to artwork, because I didn't even notice there was anything up there.
Yeah, and then in the bottom right corner, it has in Roman numerals 2, symbolizing that this is the second album in this collection.
It's phase 2, parts 3 and 4. Is that?
Yeah, that is accurate. So the whole Ladywood anthology is 2 albums. Each album is broken into 2 parts. So there are 4 total parts, each kind of depicting a different take on relationships, I think. But it could also be seen as one long story, and we'll talk to that, I suppose, when we go through it. So unless you have anything else to talk about on the album art, we can get right into it.
I don't know, man. All I know is we're gonna get into this shit faster than some motherfucking light beams.
It's true. And would you believe it? The first track on the album is called Light Beams, which is the third segment of the Ladywood story. Is titled Light Beams. There's another interlude about halfway through that starts the final fourth segment of this album. I don't know what we call this double album thing as a whole anthology.
Yeah,
That seems
sure.
too big, but
Quadrilogy? No.
quadrilogy. I don't know. Light Beams. It's like an intro track. It's only a minute long.
Yeah.
It's very clearly not a song per se, but it's got some cool like sci-fi sounding synths and effects and some like panting vocals and the
Yeah.
fading in. You hear her voice fading in, and she's calling herself the motherfucking queen of the discotheque, and talking about disco
Dude,
tits, which is the
okay.
next track.
Yeah. Yeah. See,
What were
that's
you gonna say?
no. I was just gonna say it's like a little teaser track at the beginning, which there's
Yeah,
another album. There's a few other albums that I listen to where they kind of do this, and they put like, "Ooh, we're gonna wrap up the album," and then you kind of like hear a mishmash of a bunch of the songs, or like at the
yeah.
beginning, and it's like, "Oh, this is what's to come," and
It's like Carry On Wayward Son, where at the
yeah,
beginning of the song it just kind of like runs through every major segment of it.
oh yeah,
It's like the opposite of a reprisal, I guess. I'm not really sure what the. I'm sure there's a term for it, but we're not smart enough. I'm not smart enough to know. I don't want to speak for you.
you can speak for me all day because I am not that smart.
But yeah, she there's a lot of synths, and I think it's a good intro to this album. It's a good intro to Tove Lo, I think, because as Joey discovered this week, it's probably very, very like synth heavy, electronic, dance pop kind of stuff.
Yeah, dance
Um,
pop. I'll say that.
yeah, it's good. It's good fun, in my opinion. It's good. It's fun, like dancing music. But as mentioned, she chants that she something about disco tits, motherfucking queen of the discotheque, alluding to the second track, which is also titled Disco Tits. What do you think of the song, Joey?
Jeremy. Okay, Jeremy. Okay, Jeremy.
Yeah,
Jer Bear, as you're affectionately known in some circles.
in some circles, lay it on me, Joey. How do you feel?
You know,
If I feel like how you feel about this track is going to be indicative of how you feel about the rest of the album.
you know what? That's actually not true, but I'll
Cool.
get to that later.
Okay.
But so, just my first thing that I thought was like, for being dark pop, this is like an upbeat,
Yeah.
dancey. Like this song is not at all what I was expecting. Honestly,
Right.
like
That's
it's
fair. I think it in part it's because dark pop is such a vague thing,
yeah,
and it's not super well defined anywhere, and so like I think of this as dark pop. I think other people would consider this dark pop as well, but
Wikipedia does. So
yeah, but in general, it's very like upbeat and dancey, like you said.
it's just more pop heavy than dark heavy. It seems
Right.
it doesn't exclude it from the category. It's just
It's on the other end of the spectrum.
yeah, and there's definitely some musical stylings that I like in this song. Even it's just like I wouldn't even say like because I like the music. It's
Yeah.
just in the context of it being dark pop, it's not what I was expecting. So upon my first listen, I was kind of just like, what's happening?
Yeah.
What what's going on here? But
Right.
like I do like the music. It's just okay. So I know there's a lot of people that need to be like, oh, I got to be in the mood for sad music, or I got to be in the mood for this. Like
Yeah.
upbeat music is definitely something I have to be in the mood for. So
Okay.
upon listening to it in that mood, I dug the music.
Yeah.
Now the whole this song, it has, to me, upon a few listens, the lyrical content of it, it has no like sadness. There's no bitterness. There's no tension. It's a very I'm having a great time song. And after listening to the rest of the album, I can see through the veneer that is painted
Right.
here. But upon first listen,
Yeah.
I was just like, I was
By
like,
itself, it is very much a like typical party lifestyle, I marked down that this is the epitome of sex, drugs, and Tove Lo,
Yeah.
because it's very much like sexual in nature, which Tove Lo is in a lot of her songs. She's very like forward with that kind of thing. This song specifically is probably the most forward
Yeah.
that I've heard from her about that kind of things. But sex, drugs, and partying, and kind of having fun, very typical pop things. I think maybe a little bit more on the graphic side. It's the thing about this album and Tuflu that I like, that I think makes a lot of people uncomfortable, is the imagery that she creates by using words. Like she talks about her nipples being hard and how she's wet through all of her clothes,
Yeah.
which is something that I would imagine upsets some people.
Those prudes out there
Yes.
clutching their pearls.
I mean, I don't even know. Like, I don't even want to say that. It's just that I
It's
feel
not.
like there's stigma,
Yeah.
right? And Tuvlu's kind of spitting in the face of that and saying like, yeah, like it's not womanly to talk about being wet or having my nipples hard or being sexually aroused in such a graphic way, because that's just not something that happens A, in pop music, but B, from a woman. Like
Yeah.
it's I think it's breaking the norm in kind of a fun way. Maybe I'm reading too much into it, and she was just kind of, maybe that's just her, where she's just like that. But I don't know. I think it's fun to normalize that kind of thing.
See, I kind of flipped on that throughout this album. At
Yeah,
first, I thought that was just her personality, with her being from another country where it's not as taboo as it is in America. Like in America, you could watch
right.
somebody get their fucking brains blown out on daytime television and
Yeah,
whatever, but you show one nipple that is a woman's, not it doesn't matter if it's a guy's. If you show one
yeah.
woman's nipple, it's like everybody's fucking calling the FCC, or calling in the attack helicopters, like shutting down
Yeah.
TVs. And it's like, I think just, I do like how she spits in the face of that. At first I thought it was just because it's a personality, but later.
Yeah, I feel like this is either the best or the worst introduction to Tuvlu, because like if you're completely uninitiated and you heard this song, it would be very tempting, myself included, I think, to say like, oh, she's just using it as a gimmick. She's just trying to like get listens. She's trying to start controversy
Yeah.
by doing it. But I don't get that feeling, having listened to her music for a
Yeah.
while and having seen what I've seen.
Yeah, I never thought, I didn't, I'm glad I didn't view it that way, because that might have tainted my thought of it more. At first I kind of thought, because there's a lot of people with a, especially nowadays, there's a lot of people with a very open
Yeah,
personality who are like that, like not necessarily in the pop world, but like just in
right.
life that I've known. They're I don't, I hate to use this term, but it's like the most applicable one I can use is like one of the guys type thing, where they're like, I don't care, I'll talk, like I brought home a guy from a club the other day, or I
Yeah,
did whatever, and I don't care to talk about it. It's like they're engaged in the quote unquote locker room talk, whatever. And
yeah,
at first I thought it was just that, but later in the album, there's some things in there that I think she's intentionally trying to go against certain things to kind of like break down some barriers. But there's one
yeah,
specific song later where I kind of caught on to that, and it kind of made me take a double take at some of the
yeah.
earlier songs.
Cool. Well, I think I'm glad that you were as open. I figured you would be. You're a pretty open guy when it comes to music. I was a little bit skeptical and worried that you would just hate this album, but it seems, at least with the discussion we've had so far, that that's not the case. Before we move on, though, I want to talk about the music, because the music, as you mentioned, it's fun to listen to the music apart from the lyrics
Hmm.
itself. And there's some like descending, dripping like synth boop
Yeah.
thing that kind of makes the song feel like it's melting a bit,
Hmm.
which I really enjoy. I don't. There's a lot of like cool like samples and layering, and a lot of like, I don't know. There's some cool synthy dancey stuff that it's fun to listen to.
Yeah. And I mean, there's parts in the song where she talks about being high as fuck and she's in a
Yeah,
club dancing. So it leads me to believe, and I know like at one point I believe the line is, "I'm not a chemist, but this is good shit," and it makes me
yeah,
think that it's like some sort of like ecstasy trip. Like she's in the club. Not that
yeah, for sure.
I,
So
that is
so
actually one thing I have no experience with, but that's what I can imagine. It's like,
right, yeah. So for some minor context, she's released three short films over the past 3 years, I think, ish. She's done one for each of the albums of Ladywood, and then she had one. Maybe she's done two for the first half of Ladywood. I don't remember, but there are three of them at least that I'm aware of. The last one for Ladywood, which is the prior album, was, if I remember correctly, her at like some like roller dance club kind of thing, and having a girlfriend there, and just kind of like having fun. So I think that ends where this album begins. So
yeah,
it makes sense that it's starting in a club. I mean, the song's called Discotheque Tits. She talks about being the queen of the discotheque, which is, a fancy European word for club. So that's not a stretch at all.
man, I can't believe we just talked for like 12 minutes on a song called Disco Tits.
Yeah, but I mean, I feel like a lot of that was just getting context for the album.
That's true.
So it should be smoother sailing from here, but I don't know. You don't know. She don't know,
But she
but she
knows.
knows. The third track is called "She Don't Know What She Knows,"
No
all one
spaces.
word. Yeah, I guess it's not all one word, but no spaces is the thing. This is hard for me because this is probably my least favorite track on the album, and this is what made me worry
Hmm.
a bit, because it starts with Disco Tits, which, if you don't like that song, like, it's okay. Like, it's an abrasive song, I
Yeah,
think, to a lot of people. And then you come into the next song, and it's kind of generic to me.
yeah.
So I was like, oh, this is a bad start to an album. It's gonna like, it's not gonna accurately describe the album, or maybe it will accurately describe it, but it'll put a bad taste in your mouth.
I I don't want to say I like this song more than the previous than
Yeah,
Disco Tits, but it's more generic, like generally up my alley, I guess,
right.
than that song is. But
Yeah, I
like you
think that's
said,
fair.
there's not a ton innovative happening.
Yeah,
Like you said, the music at some point sounds like it's melting in the previous song, and that's interesting because she's also talking about going to a club where she's high as fuck. Probably everything probably is melting. It's just
yeah,
fucking. But then this one is, I mean, the lyrical content on this one has a bit more of the tension that I tend to gravitate towards than
right.
the previous song. But like, I don't know. This song, it's not a bop like the other one is. It's not.
Agreed. I mean, there's some cool stuff. I don't want to sell this song short. It's a good song. It's fine by itself. But as it relates to all of the other songs on this album, I think this is probably my least favorite. It seems the least adventurous,
Yeah,
musically, at least.
yeah. And I mean, like, I don't know. I think it starts kind of the theme. It's one that kind of introduced me to later themes in the albums, because the first time I listened to Disco Tits, I didn't get any of the background stuff that's supposed
Right.
to be happening, like the fact that, okay, maybe it's not such, maybe she's not actually having a great time and she's just out there, like she's going through all this shit, like whatever. And then this song came on and I was like, okay, so she's like in a love triangle, but at first she doesn't know, then she finds out and she's apathetic to it, which gives some, it talks to her character, but then it talks
Right.
even more to the girlfriend of the guy that she's getting with, who just
Yeah.
tries to kind of ignore the fact that it's happening
Yeah. She's
and
kind
just
of she's
kind of
kind
is
of
like,
taking
yeah,
the
gotta go
role
with
of
it.
this home wrecker
Hmm.
unintentionally at first, but she figures it out, and she's like, yeah, like, your girlfriend knows, but that's what the song title's referring. She don't know, but she knows. Like,
Yeah,
she doesn't admit that her boyfriend's cheating on her with Tove Lo's character, but she knows it's happening, and she chooses to deny it and keep her happy relationship intact.
yeah. Which, I mean, if you're talking, and this is probably reading too much into it, but fuck it, I'm gonna go there. Like,
Do it.
if I don't know, if you're talking about Tuvlu trying to break norms and trying, not, I mean, trying to makes it sound like she's not doing it. Like, if
Yeah.
she's like with her music, the point she's trying to get across is kind of, I don't know, it seems to like fly in the face of stuff. It's typically like, at least in the past, not so much now, but like the typical stereotype is like the guy cheats and like girls accept it in some cases,
Right.
or they have that reaction. And she's on the flip side where I mean, granted, she doesn't have the stake in it like the girlfriend does where they're in a relationship, but she's on the flip side where she's like, I mean, I'm just in it to have fun. Like I'm just with him. I'm not affected by the fact that he has a girlfriend. Like that doesn't
Yeah.
matter to me. I'll still do this because she's her own person and she's got her own shit that she's dealing with, but it's kind of like two sides of the same coin where it's like
Absolutely.
one is trying to deny the existence and one is trying to be like, it literally doesn't matter.
Yeah. It's just fun.
Yeah.
I'm getting fucked. I'm high. And I'm just living my life in the moment,
Yeah.
which is the theme for if you haven't picked up by now. I guess we're only 2 tracks and I shouldn't shame you if you haven't picked up, but the theme of the first like half of this album is kind of that way.
Yeah. Well, oh wait, okay, you know what, I fucked it up. I was gonna make a little pun about shivering gold, about
I
something.
mean, you still can. We can
You're-
cut this out.
You're out. The magic of editing. Quickly.
Think quickly.
You know,
I got nothing
if
for you.
if I ever tried to pull that shit on the woman that I love, I would be out shivering in the cold.
Shivering in the cold.
Shivering in the shivering. The next
I'm not cutting any of that out.
the next track is called Shivering Gold.
Yep, that it is.
And before we even get into it, like, this is probably the song where I started, because initially I was kind of just generally confused about this album, and I was just like, what? This song, I started to get into it simply because of the chorus.
Mhm.
There's kind of this awesome, like, wavy, whooshing synth going on in the background, and it's just something nice to listen to.
It is. It's very like fun. I don't want to say it's like 80s, but like there's some kind of like whiny, like whiny is definitely not the word for it, but the synths in it are super dank in the chorus. I really like it. I like her vocals, and this is one of those reasons that I gravitate towards Tove Lo, is that her vocal melodies are just fantastic. I'm really drawn to her voice and her vocal melodies. She has a lot of really strong ones. This song specifically isn't like the most catchy, but I definitely sing along to it.
Yeah,
like at least in the chorus. I sing along to a lot of her songs, maybe more than I should feel proud admitting. But like,
hey,
I don't
man,
know.
Feel proud about it all.
I do. I'm not ashamed. If I was ashamed of it, I wouldn't have recommended this album to you.
But there's no place for guilty pleasures in this lifetime.
I agree 100%. I'm not guilty about any of the music I listen to.
It's funny that you said something about the lyrical melodies, because I also really like them, and I think this maybe not the best. Like, I'm not gonna sit here and on the fourth track be like it's the best on the album, but they're really good. And I don't consider them catchy in the sense that I think they would really get stuck in my head and I would feel the need to sing them like an earworm or something. But like, it was just like I was listening to it and I was like, okay, yeah, I can definitely get down to this.
That's the thing. Like on this album specifically, well, I don't think that's fair for the whole album, but a lot of songs on this album, I think the melodies themselves are catchier than the melodies with the lyrics. So a lot of times I'll just have the melody stuck in my head, not necessarily what she's singing.
Yeah.
And maybe that comes with the fact that I don't really pay attention to lyrics as much when I'm just generally listening to music. But several times this past week, I've just had melodies stuck in my head and lyrics for one song in particular that always gets stuck in my head. But I'll get there by the end of this album, and you'll figure it out. Do you want to play the guessing game? There are 2 tracks specifically on this album that I'm just 100% in love with.
You know what? I will play the guessing game.
Cool. Do you have any initial guesses before we get there, or are you just going to say it when we go to the track?
You know what? I'll say it when we get to the track.
Okay.
I'll leave that. I don't. Not that I'm really spoiling anything. It's not like this album doesn't have like, oh, you track list for Blue Lips.
Or the people theoretically would be listening to this album with us over the past week.
Yeah, we know that's not happening.
Well, don't tell them that. Don't let them know that we know they're not listening, okay?
Yeah.
Because then if they hear it, they'll throw it in our face.
But I don't know. I just foresee a lot of the views for these first 20 episodes coming from whenever we're 150 episodes in and we finally
Yeah.
start getting some people who are like, oh, you know what, I'll go through this backlog, and then
Yeah.
they find this and they're like, that's me, I'm that guy,
That's
or,
me. I'm
or that
listening.
or that girl. Who's
It's
that
true.
girl? It's
Or
you.
that gender neutral person.
I was just saying that because I was watching New Girl a while ago, and that's in the little jingles like, who's that girl? It's Jess, and it gets stuck in my head.
Oh, I've literally never heard that or the show. Anyways, before we move on from this track, "Shiver and Gold," lyrically, it's very similar to "Disco Tits."
Yeah,
It's kind of just about doing drugs and getting fucked,
but
which is kind of a recurring theme.
there's a little more of the cracks showing, because this
Yeah,
one starts to get into the fact that maybe she's not doing it simply for having a good time. She's doing it to kind of fill a void,
right.
and it starts to bring in kind of themes that come in throughout the rest of the album.
Yeah, and I think to kind of match that at the end of the song, there's like this low synth rumble that kind of feels like there was like an explosion or something that's kind of like fading out, kind of
Hmm.
symbolizing maybe that something is broken.
And something is brewing.
Well, I'm not going to ask, and I don't want you to tell me, so just we'll leave it at that.
Okay, yeah, I won't ask and I won't tell you, but
Yeah,
because the next song is called "Don't Ask, Don't Tell,"
nailed it.
so we can't.
Yeah, in fact, we should just move on to the next track.
Yep. Okay, track number 6. But
Don't ask, don't tell.
it's, I don't know. This song, it's very minimal. It's kind of back to, I think this song did minimal right, whereas She Don't Know But She Knows kind of had that
Yeah,
same similar vibe but didn't do it as well. I like Don't Ask, Don't Tell more.
I agree. This is one of the two songs that I mentioned
Oh
that
shit.
I fucking love this song, and I love singing this song for no reason other than it's minimal and it's chill, but
Yeah.
like because it's minimal, it allows her vocal melodies to just kind of take the stage, and it's fantastic. I
Yeah.
love it.
This is kind of the more of the sound that I was expecting
Hmm.
whenever like I started listening to the album. And
Right.
but I really like this song too. I like, cuz I can get down more with the lyrics. I can get more, I don't know, just this, I like the minimal sound. It's more what I'm used to, I guess. So it kind of, this was kind of a turning point, like from Shivering Gold, kind of like the more it's come down, I've kind of liked the album more since
Yeah.
then. At least on my first listen.
Yeah. The song is almost like ballady. It's like piano driven, and her vocals are pretty clean. Like in a lot of the other tracks, she has some like filtering on her
Hmm.
vocals, and she has a lot of cool effects in a lot of the songs. But this song and a couple other songs, they're just clean vocals, and I don't know. I enjoy it because it gives it kind of a rough or rawness to
Yeah,
it.
I like it because it actually has a message I can vibe to, and that is not like if you get into a relationship with somebody and not worrying about their past, not creating some sort of conditional love based on what
Right.
actions
Who
they've
they
done.
were.
Yeah, it kind of seems like people talk about like, oh, this person's made these mistakes in their past, and it's like, no, they made those decisions in their past because they didn't, they couldn't have a crystal ball and be like, okay, well, 2 years
Yeah.
down the line, I'm gonna be in a relationship with this person, and oh, this might
They're gonna hate me for
yeah,
it.
they're gonna
Yeah.
hate me for it. It's like, no, people just kind of live their lives, and then they end up finding
Right.
somebody, and it's like, okay, well, we're together now, and we love each other. They're not this
Yeah.
bullshit conditional like, oh nope, your number's too
Three
high.
years ago, yeah, you fucked 5 guys in a week,
Yep.
and now I'm not down with that.
Now I'm mad.
Yeah, I don't even know you yet, but I'm fucking mad about it.
Yeah,
But
it's
yeah, I think it's a good logical step. I think from Tove Lo, who earlier on this album and all of the previous songs was like just a party girl. This is kind of
mhm.
the logical. The next step is when she's trying to get into a relationship with someone. Perhaps she's like, don't worry about what I've done. I'm not going to worry about what you've done. Let's just be what we are now and have fun and kind of get the most out of this relationship.
Yeah. Well, there we go. That's a nice little wholesome song.
Yeah. Kind of. I mean,
Kind of.
on the other end, you could also argue that she's like she doesn't want the person to find out that she just goes out and fucks a random guy every other night because she's trying to fill that void that you mentioned and she's just
That's
sleeping around.
that's very true. Because on the flip side of that, there also is like not necessarily saying like, oh, you had sex with too many guys, like I'm not going to be in a
Right.
relationship. Like that's still not cool behavior. But
Agreed.
there does come to a certain point like where you've just done so much crazy shit that it's
Yeah,
kind of like,
it's more of the recent history, right? That
yeah,
matters. Like, oh,
yeah,
like just last night you were with another guy, and now you're telling me that you're in love with me. Like,
yeah. It's like that makes you seem like it's
a
not
little
true.
fishy. Yeah, indeed, it makes you seem like you're a total stranger. Which is the next track,
Oh,
Stranger, track
the next
6.
track. This
It,
isn't. I'm gonna make my guess since I didn't get that last one right. This isn't one of the other tracks. This isn't the other track that you like
that
to
is
sing.
100% correct.
Okay, cool.
I do like the song though. It's got some like strong piano chords and there's like a cool guitar lick that kind of comes in with it, and I don't know. There's a lot of funk going on
There
with the
is
guitars in the back.
this one like I'm not gonna say it's an earworm, but I think it has like a little catchy chorus going on, mainly
Yeah,
because of the guitar, I think, and
right.
just I don't know. It seems kind of like rocky at some points instead of like
Yeah,
rock instead of pop, I guess.
yeah,
But
and there's one spot specifically that I thought was cool in the first verse. She says "fading out,"
hmm
and the guitars cut when she says that. And then in that same verse, towards the end, she says "fading in," and the guitars come back when she says that,
ooh,
which is
that's
just
so
fun
nice.
little musical doodles that I enjoy.
That's so nice. I love it whenever it does that. I wish I had more examples. I wasn't prepared for that, but
Yeah, no, I mean it was just something I noticed. That's what I was talking about. Like because I haven't listened to lyrics. Well, I mean, obviously I've listened to them. She's very poppy vocals. Obviously, I've heard a lot of the words on the album,
yeah,
just because from sheer exposure. But things like that I would not have noticed unless I was like actually focusing on the lyrics.
yeah,
But thought it was cool. A lot of the vocal melodies in general in the song I enjoy. Like you said, it's pretty catchy. Um, but yeah, I don't know. It's good song. Kind of a turning point in her character, in my opinion.
yeah.
If there was to be one, because now she's talking about having random one night stands with strangers, but also kind of hints more openly about maybe the true motive for it
Yeah,
is that she's fucking lonely and that
yeah.
she's just trying to like fill that void, fill the loneliness in her by latching on to people.
It's just a band aid on top of her gaping hole in her heart.
Indeed.
And, man, she just doesn't have time for the rest of these bitches because she's got to deal with her own stuff.
Indeed.
And I
Indeed.
think that's the first time I've actually used the word bitches in
Bitches.
like a long time, really.
Like
Like
on the podcast or just in life?
just in general. Like as I was saying it,
Bitches.
I was like, this doesn't sound like it. This doesn't feel like a
Bitches. You gotta
shape.
say it a few times to make your mouth feel normal saying it.
Bitches,
Bitches.
bitches, bitches. But yeah, like that's not a shape that my mouth is used to making. It's very weird.
Interesting. I feel like I say it probably more than I should, but
Well,
I also curse in general more than I should.
yeah, I think it's because I have a daughter, and I think just
Yeah.
subconsciously, like I don't cuss as much as I used to, which I'm a grown up now. I'm not supposed to cuss anyways, but I think
Yeah,
like in
fuck that.
general, like curses that have negative connotations toward women just don't come out as much,
That's
even
true.
though sometimes I feel like saying them, but I
Yeah,
just
side note before we talk about track 7, which is called Bitches, um, Tove Lo on this album, I think I saw used the word fuck like 40 times compared to her previous albums where she's kind of shied away with it. So this is kind of like growth in that
hmm
direction of like kind of breaking those taboos or trying to normalize some of those things. Just as a side note, thought it was fun
yeah.
trivia.
This song, fun trivia about my listening experience,
Yeah.
is where I started to think that maybe she was intentionally trying to like spit in the face of certain norms
Yeah,
because
the song is very like abrasive
yeah,
to what you would expect in pop songs, at
and
least.
And well, because it starts off and it's got like a hip hop sound, like
Yeah, it's
rap,
very like aggressive
not
synths, and the beat is just pretty dank.
yeah, and it's like I don't know, yeah, it is kind of like rappy. I don't know
Yeah,
because it's not all the it's still her sound, but it's just if she decided to make a rap song, which kind of is what she's going for, I think, because
yeah,
it seems like she's. I mean, she's obviously if once you listen to the song, it's going to be pretty obvious that she likes both men and women
indeed.
because
She's very openly
yeah,
bisexual.
this song is about having sex with women, which is something that tons and tons and tons of rappers write graphic songs about all the time.
Right,
And no, every like I mean, people say shit about it, but it's just the norm. But
right.
it's like this song to me at least. I'm guessing this is what she was going for. Is like her being like, well, I'm gonna write a fucking song about it because
Yeah. If
that's
all these
something.
men can talk about fucking women, why can't I?
Yeah, that's something that I also do. So I'm gonna write a song about it, and if you don't feel right about it, then fuck you, because I'm just doing what they're doing.
Yeah, if you don't like it, then you're a bitch, you
Yeah,
know. And
yeah,
bitches, she don't trust them.
and see that kind of that kind of was the downfall for this song. Though I like what she's doing with this song, but like
Yeah,
just musically, like that song doesn't appeal. Like this, it doesn't really like. It's not my jam, anyways. So
yeah. It's hard to relate to,
yeah,
but like I don't know. I agree. I feel like this one was maybe out of order on the album because like you said, it started to show a bit that she's kind of lonely and trying to fuck people just
yeah,
to kind of get it. But the song is just like it's straight up like disco tits, where
yeah.
she's just kind of like talking about having fun and having sex. Fun fact: I know you said you didn't watch any music videos. This music video is kind of funny. It shows like a guy and his girlfriend go to some clinic to teach the guy how to eat his girlfriend out, and it's actually a remix, technically, I guess is what they call it. But they split up the verses between Tove Lo and four other artists, being Alma, Charlie XCX, Elephant, and Iconopop. Iconopop. But yeah, it's kind of some big like female collab track that's just kind of a funny music video. Worth a watch if you're into the song.
Well, you
But
know what? I'm gonna give it a watch. If
I
nothing
would recommend
else,
looking at a lot of her music videos, to be honest. But
well, you know what? I will. I think I will, Jeremy.
or at least watch those short
And
films
I mean,
because those are kind of cool
I
as well.
actually, I'm actually gonna do it because I feel bad because I still haven't listened to that first Lord album. So
I'm not worried about it. You'll listen to it at some point, maybe.
I'm gonna listen to it. No, I was yeah. Sometime soon. It's gonna happen. But
Yeah, I would recommend waiting until it was like pitch black out to do it
yeah,
though, because it's kind of a darker album.
well, you know what? If I want to do that, I'll just listen to track number 7, 8,
8.
8. Track number 8 on this album, Pitch Black. Or sorry,
Yes.
Pitch Black.
Yeah, it's all in caps. Every track on this album is in lowercase except for the intros to the different sections. So Light Beams is all in caps, which was the first track. This track is Pitch Black, all in caps, because this delineates the last section of the album, and it's kind of a fun, warped, slow, groggy feel
Hmm.
of a song to it. But yeah, it's another interlude. It's short. It's just kind of trying to ease you into the next half, the next segment.
Man, I wish the song was longer. I really like this song.
Yeah,
Like
it's pretty cool.
I could just listen to this song like on repeat for a little while because I mean it's like a minute long, so I could just listen to it a
Right.
few times. But I dig it. I dig the kind of slowed down. I think I might just be a slow person sometimes. Like
When the music's slower, you can follow it better.
yeah, because there's so many times like for all you people out there who are really just interested in behind the scenes of our show, Jeremy has to edit out pauses whenever I talk because there's certain times where I'm just like,
I've been leaving a lot in.
oh, have
Like,
you? Okay.
I
Well
don't
then,
know if it's just me being apathetic and not really caring, or if I'm just like weaning, or if you've been better.
Well, maybe, but there's just times where I start talking and I don't really know where I'm going, and then I kind of just like get lost. I stop paying attention to what I'm saying, and I focus on something else, and then
Yeah.
I snap back to it, and I'm like, oh. Or there's just times where I really just literally cannot remember what a word is. But
Yeah, we talked about that in the Melanie Martinez. I edited that this past week to date this episode. We're like, there's a 2 week lag, so I just edited that episode. And we were talking about how you frequently forget the words for common objects like door.
yep. And then I just say like, yeah, the thing, that
The thing.
that thing, the thing, and it's just like what I have, and then my sentences just end up like, yeah, I opened the thing, and I did the thing because
Right.
I had to go over there to that thing. It's
That
like
is almost verbatim what you said in that episode.
really,
Yeah.
and then I forget what I say and I re-say it all the time.
Yeah. Every episode is the same episode, and Joey doesn't realize it.
Oh
It's
my
like
god!
50 first dates.
Or Groundhog Day, we're just reliving the
Yeah,
same. No, wait, Groundhog Day, it would be the exact same album every time though.
that's
So,
true.
anyways,
The next track on the album is called Romantics, and it kicks off the last half of the album, which, in my opinion, is much greater than the first half. I like the second half 10 times better than the first half of this album.
I got a secret for you, Jeremy.
Well,
I
don't make it a secret anymore. Tell all of these eager listeners that want to know.
I also like the second half more.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. And I'm glad that you made it to the second half to have the discovery, because I don't know, the second half of this album is much more what I listen to Tove Lo for.
hmm
First half's okay, but I really like the last half of this album.
So I'm guessing Romantics is not. I wouldn't have pegged Romantics as the other song that you sing along to, because this one is. It's trap as fuck, yo. Like,
Yeah, it is not the other top tier Tove Lo song on this album, in my opinion, but it's cool. Fun fact about myself: this song features a guy named Daye Jack, who I saw open for K Flay in a very small venue in Indianapolis in 2017, and then this album came out at the end of that year. So
well,
I
there you
got to
go.
see him before it was on this album. And this album came out, I was like, hey, I know that guy, and now I'm bragging about it
And
on the
you're a
internet,
hipster,
and I'm a hipster.
but it is a good song though. Like, I like it now, but had I heard this song when I was like 19, I would have like legit jammed to this song. Like, it
Yeah.
would have been on a playlist.
Yeah, it's very hip hoppy. Daye Jack is a rapper, so it makes sense that the track's a bit more hip hoppy, even more so than Bitches, I think.
Yeah,
At least as far as like standard hip hop. Bitches definitely had like that big, like booming kind of hip hop feel to it.
yeah. And the
But this
bass,
one's
dude.
cool.
The bass on Bitches, it was
Yeah.
pretty nice, pretty
Yeah,
dirty.
there's a lot of cool music stuff going on in Bitches,
Yeah,
but we're past that point, Joey. You missed the train to talk about that.
man,
We're
I
talking
miss
about
I
Romantics.
missed my chance to talk about Bitches. Rats.
That doesn't happen often. But yeah, the bass comes in with the vocals. The first verse is Daye Jack rapping. I think he's decent at rapping, and I really like the way that his voice complements Tuve's in the
Yeah,
chorus. They sing it together, and he has some like background stuff going on. But I really enjoy kind of the melding of their voices.
I agree. I like his little ad lib at the end where he's talking about like, oh man, this auto tune's crazy, or
Yeah,
whatever he says right there.
yeah. So auto tune's pretty fun or
Yeah.
something like that. But yeah, so lyrically, this one I felt a little bit dissociated
hmm
from, or each verse seemed a bit different. So Daye's verse, along with the chorus, seems to be about wanting to be in a relationship with someone for life. You know, capturing those butterfly feelings of first meeting someone when you click
hmm
with them, and you hold on to that feeling forever. But then Tove Lo, I keep saying Tove because it's my American brain. Her the woman of this album's verse seems to be more about comforting someone,
yeah.
maybe even Daye. So I think this might have been uh, a bit more meta, where she's just trying to like talk to new upcoming people, saying not to worry about what people are saying and just kind of live and love who and how you want, kind of
Yeah.
a deal. But this could also be for the first song on the second half of this album, it could be that she's gotten into a relationship that she wants to make serious, but she's also kind of leaning back on what she knows, which in the first half of the album is just living wild and free. So she wants it more, but she has this background of kind of not really caring what everyone else is saying, and just kind of like living and fucking whoever she wants. And I think there's kind of like maybe some of that is seeping into the second half of this album here.
Yeah, I think the main kind of thing that I picked up on this one is something that's carried through to other songs on this half of the album, and that is, like you said, the big feelings of the beginning of a relationship, or just the passion, the big,
Yeah,
huge emotions that come with certain specific parts of relationships. And
right.
it seemed like, I don't know, there were parts of me that thought that Tuvlu's verse, or just her parts, were about seeing a relationship through, I don't know, like there's been so many times in my life where like there's people in my life who are only there because you constantly hang out in an altered state. Like
Right.
you're like, oh, these are my drinking buddies, these are my smoking buddies, these are my whatever. Or like it, except this, it happens in relationships as well. Like you get with somebody and you're like, oh yeah, we're having a great time, this is awesome, and then there's no beer, there's no weed, there's no whatever,
Yeah,
and you're
it's
like,
just the person.
yeah, and you're like, oh, we have to like talk now, and we have to like,
Yeah.
it kind of, I got that vibe from it, where it's like she's experiencing that kind of the reality of
Yeah.
meeting somebody who she wants to be involved with at like a club, at wherever, and you're out having the fun, and then you kind of try to get to the reality of that relationship that you've started, and you're like, this isn't what I was feeling then.
Yeah. And that's kind of a theme that I've picked up on. Maybe I was reading too far into it, but she talks about getting high a lot on this album, and then she talks about kind of the big feelings of being in fresh love, or
Hmm.
having the highs of a relationship. And I think that there's maybe some sort of double meaning there, where when
Yeah.
she's talking about being high, she's not necessarily being drug induced. She certainly does refer to that a lot, but maybe
Hmm.
it's also an additional like meaning for just being in that state of bliss from falling in love with someone
Yeah,
and kind of living that life.
I think that as well. That seems to be her drug of choice.
Indeed, it does, and that lines up with who she is as a person. I think a lot of this album is very intimately describing her own personal life,
Yeah.
and so this is kind of like a growing thing for her. I think is to put it to paper and say like, this is who I've been, and I may or may not want to continue to be that person, but this is just how I'm feeling at the
Yeah.
moment.
Yeah, yeah.
She kind of goes in cycles.
She does. And then she just gets herself stuck in these cycles where she keeps doing the same old thing over and over again,
Same old, same old.
like some sort of cycle, and then, she just does it again, and then, oh man, there's another cycle.
Yep. Can
And
we say the
then
word cycle anymore?
one more
Maybe
time.
we should recycle the
Yeah.
word cycle
And
a
then
few
I'll
times.
ride off into the sunset on my bicycle.
Yeah. Have
And
we said it 10 times? Surely we've said it 10 times by now.
and then it's a decacycle.
Yeah,
So that
decacycle
means,
is a thing. A 10 liter.
man, if I would have had more energy or something when I said that, it could have actually been something enjoyable to listen to. But I'm over here like, it's a
So
decacycle.
just kind of mumble off into
You
the
know,
song.
you know.
Track 10 is
Cycles.
cycles.
Oh shit! 10 times. It's the 10th song.
10 cycles. 10 is the track number. Cycles is the track title. Don't know how you want us to spell it out any more than that. Probably didn't want us to spell it out at all. You probably just wanted us to move on. But we lingered, as
Yep.
we do.
Oh god. Oh god. But this song, it's got a nice wompy ass synth that comes in.
Yeah.
It's just like womping all
Womp.
over the place.
Yeah, it womps.
That's
I
that's
like
the
it.
only way I could think of how to
Yeah,
describe
I
it.
put wah e
Why?
like you're using a wah pedal for a
Yep.
guitar or something, but made it an
Yeah, I guess
adverb
there's
of
no
wah.
p in it. It's just wah.
Wah.
But it's just
Wah.
it just sounded wompy. But
Yeah,
But I like it. I like the music. I like the music on the second half. Not that I don't like the music on the first half, but I feel like the music on the second half caters more to my needs as a
Yeah,
listener than the first half.
I agree. There's some cool like spooling up sound effects that kind of like rise and fall. And this one,
Hmm.
I mean, the track's called Cycle. She's talking about being stuck in a cycle. So I thought that was a nice touch, just hearing something kind of rise and fall and rise and fall to
Hmm.
go along with the theme of it. And it seems like there's a lot of layers in this track specifically,
Yeah.
and it still manages not to sound too busy, in my opinion. And I still pick things out of it, like, oh, I didn't notice that, or I didn't notice this every time I listen to the song.
I had a point in this song where whenever I was writing my notes, I just wrote out my like full thought process
Yeah,
because
let's hear it.
I started to write something about like there's parts of it that sound too poppy to me. And then I
Hmm.
thought about it even more. And I was like, why though? Because there's other songs that I listen to that have this amount of production on it, that have this amount
Right.
of polish, and like I don't know, like it, I don't know if
It's
it's her
because
voice.
you're breaking through the ceiling here.
Yeah,
You're
like
you're you're opening your mind. You're shattering the stigma of pop and what it
yeah,
means.
I still have work to do because my end goal is to be able to fully, maybe not necessarily even enjoy, but to fully like accept all forms of music and not. I want to try to
Right.
go into it without with as few
Having a negative
biases.
idea. Yeah.
Yeah, and I
I
still have
agree.
some work to do, but I,
Yeah, no, I
I
think I think everyone will always have some work to do in that regards, and that's
yeah,
why I enjoy doing this podcast. Like, I feel I have a lot of negative predispositions for a lot of music that you like, and you probably have the same about a lot of music that I like. So I think this is kind of a good way for us to work through that together,
yes,
and it's
I
fun
agree. It is,
because
even though you totally trashed that album last week, but that's
look,
fine.
I don't hate the album. I just hate the drums on it.
I just hate half of the
I
people in the
just hate
band.
half of the people in the. I don't hate the person. He's
Yeah, I
probably a
guess
cool
that's true.
dude. I just don't like his performance on that album.
He is a cool dude, but we're not talking about Hella, and I got
We're
us off
talking about
topic again.
cycles.
We're talking about cycles. I like this.
If you hadn't heard, the song is called "Cycles." We'll start it over. We're stuck in the cycle.
Oh my
Uh,
god, meta.
but yeah, there's what sounds like a speak and spell in the
Hmm.
song at the bridge, and I can't really make out what it's spelling. But I thought it was kind of a weird sound bite to have.
Yeah, it's
The song,
I don't
it's
know.
the song.
I
No, we're gonna
no
keep
no
talking
you
over
go.
each other.
No 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 no. It's fine. It's
I was just
fine.
gonna
We're
say,
recording these separately, so you can just back and forth, back and forth, back and
yeah, I'm not going to. It's
forth.
gonna it's gonna come out as a jumbled mess. I don't put that effort into editing anymore. I'm over it.
Good,
Nobody's listening, so why
good.
should I care? Continuing the trend of being more aware of her love or relational habits on this album, the song is her kind of realizing that she's been stuck in the cycle of falling head over heels for someone and moving into it too quickly and just kind of focusing on those highs and not focusing on the reality of it. And she wants to do it differently,
Hmm.
but she doesn't really know how.
Yeah. Well, she might figure it out sometime because it seems like
Hopefully.
that might be a struggle to do so, though.
It is. Before we move on, I did quote some lyrics
God damn it,
on
Jeremy! I had the
cycles. I'm
perfect
sorry. I'm sorry, man. You can do it again. We'll just hold it for like 10 seconds. I just want to call out these lyrics that I
one. Do it.
thought I don't. It was kind of like real and like affected
Oh
me. It didn't
shit.
really like affect me in a way, but it seemed like I'm just gonna read it. It says, "You're afraid. The way I love you now and my love in the past are the same, and the things that I say are exactly what I used to tell them, and that really hurts me, but I know." So like that's it's just proving that she's aware of what she's been doing, and it hurts her to know that she's just been like kind of repeating the same shit to every guy she's been with just to
Yeah,
like to get what she wants out of it, and it hurts her, and she's trying to be better now. But I thought that was a very real thing to say.
that is, and it sheds a lot of light to the reality of, I guess, addiction
Mm-hmm.
that she seems to paint, like the addiction to. Because I mean, it's essentially a drug addiction. It's just your mind is producing the drug, and
Yeah,
she's got it
she's
bad.
addicted to highs, whether that's from drugs or if it's from love. You know, I mean, that's her first album. Like her biggest fucking hit, Habits, was talking about, you know, someone being gone and she has to stay high all the time. Like that's who she is, or who she was at the very least. And she's acknowledging that and saying that it hurts her that she's been that way.
It's definitely an easy pattern to fall into.
Agreed. It's a very, very tough thing that I think a lot of people have to struggle with.
The struggle is real.
The struggle is real. That's the 11th track. Not the struggle is real, just struggle.
Yeah. But the struggle is real is a line in that song. So
yeah, the title could have been the struggle is real.
Yeah.
But she simplified. It's just struggle.
Yeah. It's I really like the vocoder that she's got going on in this. Like it gives me a Daft Punk vibe almost.
Yep. I actually noted that. I think it was on a different track that I noted that maybe it was this one. Let me skim through. Yeah, no, I don't think it was on this track. There was another track that she does something similar. That I noted probably later in the album. But yeah, there's some fun video gamey synths kind of thing, kind of lo-fi and fuzzy at the beginning. And yeah, this is the track. I said it's modulated vocals, kind of like Daft Punk in the background with some big 80s synth beat and samples and stuff. I just can't read my notes. I don't know why I write notes. I can't read.
Yeah. No, it's fine. Who needs reading anyways? Like, you got audiobooks, you got all these people telling you things. You can just listen to thing on headphones. You're listening to us right now. What would you do? Read this?
We could maybe do a transcript, but
yeah, but who would read that? I wouldn't read that.
I sure wouldn't. I'd hate to write it too, because we're all over the place. But yeah, there's a lot of layers in this track specifically, and there's a lot of instrumentation that I never picked up on until I was actually writing my notes for this track. I was like, wow, there's so many like cool music and instrumentation and samples and effects and stuff in it that I never would have picked up on if I just casually listened to it.
What I can't figure out, where my struggle is real, is figuring out what exactly she's upset about.
Yeah. So this it was a bit of a struggle to interpret. But what I got out of it is that the song's about being in a relationship and not really knowing how to talk to your partner about your concerns. She feels lonely and she's hurting, but she doesn't know what her partner's feeling, and she doesn't want to like burden him, and she's struggling to keep herself together.
Yeah.
Because she's never been in a real relationship, quote unquote, because she's been having these highs, and she doesn't know how to have that interaction in a healthy way without worrying about scaring him off.
Man, it's like, I didn't know if she was upset with the fact that she didn't know how to cope in a relationship, I guess, or if she was upset with herself for being upset about that, given how she's kind of had in the first half of this album, like a not give a fuck attitude
right
about stuff. So it was just very confusing for me, because emotions are hard.
They are.
I don't understand them.
I think maybe, I don't want to say it was intended and give her super omega brain credit, but I think that, like, I don't know, the song's called Struggle. It's about struggling, so
yeah.
It's not unheard of to think that she wanted people to struggle with interpreting it, but I think that's reading too much into it, personally.
I don't know. She could be 200 IQ, I guess.
She could be like 5,000 IQ and just everything has so much more meaning than we know.
Yeah, I mean, it probably does. Like, honestly,
I mean, yeah, there's probably definitely some things that we're not picking up on, but I don't know, 2,000 IQ.
I don't know
Come
anything.
on, Joey, let's be real.
There's so many things that I don't know, that I don't even know all the stuff that I don't know. Like,
well,
it's just
do you
crazy.
know what happened on the 9th of October?
Some pretty crazy shit, apparently, according to this song. Like, some pretty big, long-lasting emotional scarring.
Yeah, the track 12, 9th of October. It's got some, like, watery, echoey keys that I enjoy. I really like the rhythm of her vocals and the rhythm of the keys in this one, because it's the chords are coming at like an offbeat at some point, like the third or fourth chord in the phrase is not where I expected it to be, at the very least, which was kind of fun. It's got a lot of fun vocal melodies. I really like this track a lot. It's got some like distorted vocals underneath in the post-chorus section. But yeah, I don't know. There's it's a very melancholy feeling track, but it still builds and it still grows. And at one point, she sings. There's a refrain where she sings that she's waiting for her heart. That's very like powerful and heartfelt, in my opinion.
Yeah, yeah. And what like I don't know, because this song seems to be more of she's in this actual relationship at this point, and
Right.
it's a very big. She wants it to be long lasting. She really feels for this guy. I'm assuming it's a guy. I think it's a guy. I
Right.
think she mentioned that it was a guy in a few of the songs, but
Yeah,
she really,
I believe it was, but
yeah,
that could just be bias.
yeah. Look at me out here being an asshole, and I don't even know it. But uh, so she's so used to being, I guess, addicted to these huge emotional moments that now
Mhm.
she's in the thick of it, in the part of the relationship that it's not necessarily that part anymore, and she doesn't know how to cope, and she's trying to cope. And what hit me is at the end, I think it's near the end of the song, she talks about she's the one that said the big words first. And I'm guessing
Yeah.
she told this guy that she loves him first. And
Yeah. So in my interpretation of it was she ruined a quote unquote perfect relationship to her that
mhm,
was very unconventional. It talks about a lot of things that they were doing that wasn't really conventional,
yeah,
but everything seemed to be perfect until she told her partner that she loved them, and then she never saw them again.
yeah,
Because she says in one of the verses, like, our last kiss at the bus stop, had I known, I would have jumped off. And I
yeah,
feel like what happened, at least in my mind, is she was getting on this bus to go off on tour or whatever. She kisses this dude, this chick, this person, tells them that, like, hey, I love you. And then she never heard from that person again. They just kind of stopped communicating. And she says at the end of like the last chorus, I think, she says the ninth of, through all of the courses she's talking about the 9th of October. I always remember whatever, but she the last line of the last chorus I think is 9th of October. Can't think of it sober because all of it fucking hurts, and it just it hurts me.
who hurt you? Who hurt you, Tuvlu?
I don't know who it
We're
was, but
laughing,
man,
but this is pretty shitty for
yeah,
her to overcome all of this bullshit
and just be
about her
left.
own life. And yeah, and then she's finally like, you know what? I think I can do this. We're past the giant nights in Paris and the hotel rooms where we are just having a great time and not
Right.
really experiencing the real little. I'm ready to take that leap into the boring part. Say I love you. Oh, see ya
Yeah.
forever.
Yeah, that fucking hurt. Like she
Yeah,
says, I haven't had that happen. I've never had big nights in Paris. I've never been to Paris.
me either.
I don't have that celebrity lifestyle, but she has. She mentioned she talks about on the first part on Ladywood. She kind of talks about her dealing with her celebrity and stuff, and I think kind of comes to at the end of this album as well. But
Yeah,
we'll get to that when it gets there. Track 13, Bad Days.
this
Didn't
is the
even
song.
segue.
This is the other song, right?
It's
Right.
not,
Oh,
but
what the?
that leaves only one other one.
Well, shit.
I do really like Bad Days. I think this is one of the more musically interesting songs
I do too.
on the album. It has like some vocal licks that are low and like spacey and watery. And it's very like ambient and spacey in general until the
Yeah,
chorus comes in.
yeah. There's like this kind of. I don't want to say chugging because that's not the right word at all, but like it's the beginning of the chorus sounds kind of like rock inspired. It's got this like
Yeah,
very like stoppy, choppy little.
yeah, very very
Like,
staccato
yeah,
guitars and there's some like big synths and in the second half of it anyway, and it's good. I like it a lot.
I like it a
There's
lot.
even like some like wailing guitar that I noticed in the last chorus, just in the background. There's like some wailing guitar like going on.
Man, you always gotta have that wailing guitar. It just ties it all together. I didn't
Yeah,
even notice it.
yeah,
What
I
the
know.
fuck?
That's what I'm saying. Like me putting notes for this album, I noticed so many different layers and instrumentation to a lot of these songs that I never would have, and I think it's pretty fucking cool.
Man, I listened to this song probably like 6 or 7 times. How did I not hear that? What the fuck's
Well, now
happening,
you're
man?
gonna go back and listen to it, maybe, and you're gonna be listening for it, and maybe you'll hear it. I think it's the last chorus. Don't at me if I'm wrong.
Oh, I'll definitely.
Which you can do at FBL Podcast on
Yeah.
Twitter.
Boom, 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 boom. If
But
only,
related,
if only I had an
what?
actual Twitter, then I could add you.
Yeah, well, related to the prior songs on this half of the album, this one is about failing to get over the relationship that she burned down
Yeah.
in 9th of October. And it, like we kind of mentioned, she found someone that she finally wanted to like settle down with, and she feels like she fucked it up by saying she loves you, and
Which you
she
didn't. You didn't fuck it up. You
yeah,
were
but
an
it hurts
angel.
her, and she is struggling to get over it. Um, I thought it was interesting. She said, "I still remember all the good times. If not, I'll recreate them all." Meaning
Yeah.
that like she's trying to focus on all of the highs that she had with this person,
Mm-hmm.
and if she doesn't remember specifically what happened, she'll tell herself that it was a good time, or she'll like kind of fake her memory out and believe that some things were better than they were. In my opinion, that's what I got out of that line.
See, what I got out of it is whenever she says recreate them all, I thought she meant she would fall back into her cycle and then recreate them with another person.
I
And
also had that consideration, but I don't know. It felt kind of out of place for her to be relapsing kind of back
that
into
is
that.
that is true. It seems like she's kind of doing her thing. She's even wondering how other people can get on with it. That seems to be a big point in this song. Is like she's looking at other people, saying like, "How can you just move on? How can you
Yeah,
go on to another relationship? How can you how can you all do this when it's not just shallow relationships one after the other? Like how can you bounce back from an actual one? Because she's
yeah. She doesn't
presumably,
have the perspective.
yeah,
She's been in all of these quick relationships, and then the first time that she actually falls in love with someone, they break her heart, and she's just like, "Wow, this is like so much harder than I could have possibly imagined it being, and it feels so much worse than I could have imagined it feeling."
feels bad, man.
It does, but maybe you were onto something, and maybe she was kind of hinting at going back to her old way of life and relapsing. Because in the last track, which is potentially my favorite Tove Lo track of all of her albums,
Holy shit!
is "Hey You Got Drugs,"
Uh,
and I think my love for this track A was the reason I picked this album over Sunshine Kitty, but B, I think it could be heavily related to the music video and my mental state when I saw the music video and heard the song. But I'll get into that in a bit. The song's a very like piano driven sad boy ballad kind of a thing. Has a simple bass line. The chorus kind of comes in big and loud, but it also has these muted drums, so there's kind of a nice contrast there. She has very powerful like forward vocals, I think,
mm-hmm.
in the chorus, but in the verses, it's a bit more like chill and delicate. But I don't know, the melodies are just fucking great. I love singing this song. I will never not sing along to this song if it comes on or if I'm playing it. Like
Well,
when
holy
when I
shit,
put
man.
this album on, I put it on to listen to this song at the end. It's I don't
Oh
know.
damn, it's one of those.
Yeah, it's there's something about
That
it that like I don't know. It feels like painful acceptance as like a song.
mm-hmm.
So in my head canon for this album, and this is kind of reinforced, I think, with the music video, but she's realized that her love is gone, and she's letting all of her pain and grief out here on this track, and she's just like she the song's called "Hey You Got Drugs." She's trying to find drugs to kind of stabilize her for the night because she's just absolutely devastated. She one of the verses, I think, she says 10 years of highs just for fun, not a height till I'm caught, pain from the past like a small piece of glass in my heart. You should This should be the time of my life. You fucking made it your deal. And I keep dancing away because it's all fun and games till it's real. And just the way she sings it feels so heartfelt to me. And that
Mm-hmm.
she's like, look, I spent 10 years with this person, or not with this person. I spent 10 years hopping from person to person just for some quick love. And that's not the reality of it. It's all fun and
Yeah.
games until it's real. And she really feels that love, and she gets burned, and it's just fucking destroyed her. Um, the music video for this song is very like I don't know. I think it definitely impacted how much I enjoy this song because it starts with some like weird clips of her at concerts having fun, and then it cuts to a video of her walking behind a venue, like down an alley after a concert. You can see like tour buses and stuff, and she's just in complete silence. She's walking down. You can hear her footsteps, and they're filming her. And she walks all the way down this alley in a pretty long, prolonged way. And she walks into her dressing room, and she just has this breakdown. And she's just in tears, and you start to suspect that she's going to get together, and then just goes another layer, and she fucking breaks down completely. And the thing, and I think that sums up this album as well as like Ladywood as a whole, where it shows her happy and energetic on the stage at the beginning, enjoying the rush and high of performing, and then kind of a long walk back to reality, giving her enough time to linger in the silence and her thoughts, and then she finally gets back there to reality, which could be a metaphor of her dressing room here, and it's all kind of sunk in, and she just realizes how much pain she's actually in. That was long-winded. I apologize, but I don't know. The song impacted me, and I think it could have. I think it was part because of the music video, and part because of where I was, like when I saw that music video mentally.
Where were you mentally?
I don't know.
Because
Probably not a good spot.
probably not a good spot.
It just, I don't know. It clicked with me. It resonated, and it was just like, I don't know. It was so like cathartic. I think to watch someone else have that breakdown.
Yeah. Man, I
know.
wish I would have watched the music video.
Yeah, I mean, you still can, but I don't. I'm not sure it'll have the same impact for you that it did
Yeah.
for me.
Well, because I'm with you in the camp that this seems to be her accepting, I guess, accepting because her mind is kind of forcing her to, because she's finally had
Right.
these real feelings, but she's accepting the reality of the situation. And I do like, whenever you say, like, it started off with all of her fun and games, she's dancing up on the stage, she's doing a show, she's at a show, she's just
Right.
having fun. And then there's a callback to a line from Disco Tits in this, where the one where I said about she's no chemist, but it's
Yeah.
good shit. She says something about uh something about we have the good stuff whenever she's asking if they have drugs. But she's
Yeah.
resisting it now because she's fallen out of her feelings. Which
Yeah. That's the bridge. She says, "Hey, you got drugs? Just need to pick me up. Only for tonight. Don't tell anyone I was with you. Yeah, it's good stuff, but I'm resisting now. Take it if you want. I think I've fallen out of my feelings."
yeah. And it's like, to me, that kind of hit me as like she's so far past the point where she's kind of just in it now. Like,
Right.
she's past the point of like, yeah, we can just take this pain away if I just do this or do that. Like, it's kind of to the point where it's like, okay, yeah, it's a full on. You just have to experience it. You have to
Right.
let it come over you.
Yeah. She's kind of simultaneously done numbing herself to the reality of it, but also at the same time wanting to maybe physically numb herself to the pain that she's feeling,
Yeah.
kind of a thing. But I don't know. That clearly I ramble on for a while there, but I don't know. I really love this track, and I think that's why this album has stuck with me as long as it has.
That's the thing, because we talk about ending tracks a lot.
Yeah.
And this, like, hearing you talk about it, because I mean, I really like the song. I like the way that it wraps up the whole album. I
Mm-hmm.
like the way that it calls back to the first song, but in a completely different way, in a way that is more musically appealing to me than,
Yeah.
I keep saying first song. I mean second song, but like
Well,
first
yeah. The first.
full, yeah,
Yeah. It's a first song.
yeah,
It's just not the first track.
yeah. And it, like, I like it a lot, but then you hear it, you heard it your way the first time, and
Mm-hmm.
it really like, it's, I like hearing that you will listen to this whole album just to hear this song, because that is a great thing. I have quite a few albums like that as well, and it's
Yeah.
just so nice to experience something, the full buildup of it, and you'll sit
Right.
down, you'll like, okay, I got 50 minutes, this is what I want to do. I want to have the buildup just so I can have the payoff at the end, the emotional
Right.
payoff, and
Yeah,
it's
I think
nice.
that's a sign of a good album and good music. Obviously, I'm saying that because this is my album that does that for me. But I think that's why not to get too nebulous and off topic, but that's why I think music is so incredible and amazing as a whole, is just because A, it allows people to experience things together
Hmm.
in a very shared experience way, but B, it's very personal, and each person is going to experience an album in a different and unique and personal way, an intimate way that can't really be shared.
Yeah, 100%. Because and that's it's kind of not flying in the face of what we're doing because we're not trying to completely recreate that, but it's kind of
Right.
it's because like we're you're doing the dark pop. You just did the 4 albums in a row to kind of lead me down a path to where
Right.
you're at. And all of our recommendations are kind of in some way building a foundation so
Yeah.
we can each get each
We're
other's.
poking each other's boundaries and saying where we can breach those boundaries.
Yeah, and like we're like, oh well, this is one of the albums that I listened to that kind of opened up these next 4 albums for me, so maybe
Right.
I can do one of those, and like we'll go on a little journey. Like I listened to this in this order, and you kind of set up that foundation, but it's just crazy. And I know this is just I'm gonna say it, and it's like fucking of course that happens, but it's like it's just so crazy how just like the littlest things that you experience because like
Mhm.
even like I can look at the same picture of something as you, and that informs my experience differently. We can go
Right.
out and look at the same sky, and that hits me differently, and that little tiny thing can affect how I listen to somebody sing about that blue sky. Then
Right.
like it can sound so much different than you hear it, and it's just
Yeah,
there's
and
some
it's
little.
to take it a level further, like every decision and every outside force we've ever experienced in our lives helps affect that and
Yeah,
brings us to our final interpretation of something, or each interpretation of something if we're reinterpreting things every time we listen to it or whatever. It's just
yeah,
fucking, the world's crazy, life is crazy, and it's all built on the past.
yeah, and that ah, and
That's
like
too nebulous. I think we should
it's
stop talking
yeah,
about this
yeah,
on this podcast. Maybe if you guys are interested in us rambling about that stuff, we can have a separate show on this podcast where we just kind of like ramble about life and stuff.
yeah. That can be our midweek thing.
Yeah, let us know. We can double our efforts and put out 2 episodes a week if you're listening, or if you want to listen to that, or if you're not. I guess I don't have anything to say to you because you're not
Yeah,
listening and you're not going to hear it anyway.
yeah. It's kind of like that. Well, I feel it when I'm dead type question.
Exactly.
Like if you're talking to somebody that's not there, does it? Do they hear it?
Right. If a tree falls in the forest, right? Anyways, overall, in hindsight, I think it might have been a better call to do both parts of Ladywood back to back. But I do really love this album and the themes of kind of being lonely and coping with it. The first half, obviously, she doesn't think she's lonely; she's just having a good time. But then you kind of realize that she's just distracting herself and filling that void,
Yeah,
which I don't necessarily relate to a lot of times, at least a lot of specific themes in individual tracks. But I think she does a good job of trying to express her experiences
yeah,
with relationships and stardom, more so on the first album. But yeah, and obviously the use of taboo words to normalize female sexuality and stuff, I think is great because people need to feel uncomfortable sometimes to get results. And if this makes someone somewhere feel more comfortable in their skin with their sexual freedoms and perspectives, then that means something.
you got that right, brother man. Does that
Well,
does that work? Does that can I
brother
what?
man, that's
What
my
was
new
that,
name. You can
brother
call just
man?
refer to me as brother man on this podcast. Never use my name. Next week, I'm going to introduce myself as Brother Man.
There's so many times where I just say things and I'm like, what the fuck? What
Yeah, I
like
mean, it's just that, like, I don't know. Maybe this isn't the case here, but I feel like I've been doing a lot of talking about something very like personal and intimate that I feel very strongly about. And when you're listening to someone do that, like, hey, it's interesting to listen to, but like, how do you respond to something like that? So you just
that
kind of like throw shit out and see what happens.
that is super true because normally in a normal situation, I wouldn't have said anything there. Or
Yeah.
if I did, it would have been extremely minimal, because I'm very much in the camp that whenever somebody is talking about extremely personal things, like, they're not all like, you don't need to say something back to them, really.
Right.
Like, they're telling you these things because they want you to listen and accept whatever information, whatever
Yeah,
part of
they're not looking
themselves.
for input.
Yeah, like, so, like, if we weren't doing something where it was a back and forth, I would have just been like, yeah, like,
Yeah, cool.
yeah. Or I just would have sat there and given you like an approving look or something.
Right.
And it's like, but you can't. We're not.
We were doing a
That's
podcast.
and we're doing it virtually.
Yeah.
I'm sitting in my
There's
bedroom,
no
staring at a
physical
vent.
cues.
It's man.
Overall, what did you think of this album, Joey?
Overall,
Just give it to me straight.
okay. So overall, I liked this album after a little bit. The first time I listened to it, I wasn't sold on it, and I was like, there. Honestly, the first time I heard Disco Tits, I was like, am I even gonna like this at all? And then I
Right.
started listening to it more, and I was like, okay, like and then I listened to it all the way through again, and I still didn't like. It was like Disco Tits was like the barrier of entry for me,
Right.
and then after that, I liked everything more. And then like the third and fourth times, I was like, okay, okay, I'm
Yeah,
in, I'm in.
for in a totally unrelated to your general feelings way, the music video for Disco Tits, she fucks a puppet. Just
See,
leaving that out there. So if you want to watch that music video, if you're into puppet fuckery, then go for it.
maybe if I would have watched the music video, I would have liked it the first time. Then
Yeah, I think the music videos do a better job of showing her the lightheartedness that she's putting into her music, and not just like
yeah.
weirdness. I guess. I mean, it is weird, but it's also funny.
Yeah. At first, honestly, I was torn because I didn't know. Like, I didn't want to come on here and be like, "No, I don't like it. It's one of your favorite albums. I don't like it." I didn't
I
want
mean,
to do that.
I was
And then it,
expecting that.
and I was, because I liked it. I always, not always. I was expecting to be like, I liked it more than the Banks album, and
Hmm.
then it kind of turned into, I liked it more than the Licky Lee album, and then it turned
Right.
into, I still kind of like the Melanie Martinez album
Yeah.
more, but like I didn't
Nothing
like
wrong
it,
with
and
that.
then it turned into, okay, I think this is like, as of now, I think I like this the most out of
Interesting.
the four.
Well,
It
if
kind
that
of,
is the case, and that remains to be the case, then I'm glad to have worked you up to it. I think that's proof that this is kind of working, I guess, in a way.
I still do like that Melanie Martinez album though.
Yeah, it is good. You should check out her other album. You should check out Tove Lo's other albums if you're vaguely interested, or watch the
I
videos.
will.
There's a lot of like, I don't know, man. Just listen to everything. Just listen to every
I
album
feel
ever.
I've been trying to, honestly. Like, what else do I have to do?
This podcast has gone on too long. This is like our longest one that we've done, and I knew it
It
would
really
be
is. Oh God,
because
I just
of
looked at the time.
yeah, it's fine. I mean, I knew it would be because of how much I wrote about it and the personal aspects of it. But we got to move on.
Yeah.
We gotta continue. What are we doing next week? What is our course that you are setting with us?
Okay, next week we're listening to an album called New Magnetic Wonder by a band called The Apples in Stereo. The reason I am picking this is because it it seems like the path that I want to go down. It seems like a good album to follow this
Okay,
because it's The Apples in Stereo. They're kind of a pop rock type band, but not pop rock in like the, I don't know, like,
say it.
I'm I was gonna say like Avril Lavigne or something, but that's like
Oh,
pop punk. But like they're
yeah.
not like pop rock in like the candy type way either. Like the you put them on your tongue and they pop.
I didn't think for a second that we were going to be listening to pop rocks.
Wouldn't that be some shit if I just put something on her? It's like, yeah, it's pop and it's rock, and then
Yeah, it's just 35 minutes of someone holding their mouth open to a microphone with pop rocks.
but they're poppy. They're rocky. They got some electronic stuff going on. They got a
Okay.
good mix of I don't know, new sounding things that I think would be a good entry point given the
Given
pop.
where we just ended this
Yeah,
dark pop thing.
yeah. Now I'm not gonna say like, oh, it's a seamless transition. It's
Right.
it's it's not gonna be that, but I'm
Sure.
gonna I'm gonna set us on a course that goes. It goes towards kind of like a indie, folky, rocky type thing. Like,
So is this adjacent to like Nana Grizzle that we've listened to for the
actually,
viewers to kind of
funny that you
compare?
mentioned that. It's it could be construed as a similar sound. I'm not gonna
Okay.
say that like the Apples in Stereo are led by, I believe his name is Robert Schneider. He's the singer, and he helped found the Elephant Six like collective, I guess,
Okay.
which was a group of bands from like the '90s that wanted to do their own thing. And I mean, they all have kind of distinct sounds, but they're all kind of labeled under an indie rock
Sure.
pop type thing, and they're kind of an offshoot of that, I guess. But anyways, I brought that up because Nana Grizzle is tangentially related to that, so they kind of have a similar kind of do-it-yourself
Cool.
sort of feel.
So do you know how many weeks, how many episodes, how many albums we're talking here, or are we just gonna feel it out as we go?
I'm gonna actually. I was originally thinking 6, but I'm gonna
Okay.
shoot for either 4 or 5. Actually, I don't want it to be too crazy long.
Yeah, we'll
But
see what happens. We'll so
yeah,
anywhere from the next 4 to 6 episodes, Joey will be taking me on a journey. We're gonna be doing them consecutively, just to try it out and see if it has better or worse results. I think because I think that the dark pop thing worked okay, having it split up, but maybe it would have been more meaningful to do it all back to back. So we're gonna try that with this indie rock pop stuff that Joey wants to lead me through, and we'll see if I like Joey, come to terms with it by the end, or if I'm just gonna kick and scream the whole time.
or if you even like me at all after it.
That's true. We might have to stop this podcast after the end if we just can't get along anymore because we're just so different in musical taste. Probably not
Yeah,
going to
I mean, at
happen.
this, yeah, I I I think the things you listen to won't be too offensive,
Okay.
at least.
All right. We'll see how I feel about it. Until then, until next week when we're discussing this album, you guys can contact us on all of the social medias. You can listen to us on all of the podcast. Well, I don't want to say all the podcasting platforms. There are a ton of podcasting platforms,
Yeah, all
but
the main
we're
ones.
on a lot of the major ones, the major media consumption products. If we're not somewhere that you want to listen to us, I don't know how you're listening to us now, but let us know
Yeah.
and we can transfer over. I'm sure it won't be difficult to add more services. But until next week, stay in our feedback loop.
Bye.